Welcome back to Good Day Columbia. We're honoring our veterans this morning, and joining me now is Tech Sergeant Stephen Hudson. Okay, what's going on? How are you, Stephen?
I'm doing well.
Well, thanks for coming down today. We appreciate that. Now, you are a member of the South Carolina Air National Guard, and we were having a little conversation back in the Weather Center about how, well, our military has changed, and your exact words to me were, "This ain't your daddy's National Guard." What do you mean?
Right.
What's going on?
You know, when I first joined the National Guard, the Guard was still sort of a force, a little bit kind of more of a force in reserve. And now, today, the Guard, particularly after 9/11, has changed so much. Our operational tempo, or what we call ops tempo, has increased so much that the National Guard is being called on more and more today. And it's an amazing experience to be able to go to deploy downrange with some of the greatest people in the world, and they're from right here in our hometown, right here in South Carolina. Some of these Army and Air National Guard folks that deploy all around the world and do things that people just don't know about. Whether it's, we have Army Guard folks right now that are in Kosovo flying missions. We have Air National Guard people who just returned from Afghanistan, and we have more Army National Guard folks that are deploying overseas again. So there's always a constant rotation of people deploying and redeploying home. So.
And you just got home in August.
I did. I was deployed through the summer months, and I got home in August. I was a public affairs combat correspondent, writer, photographer while I was overseas. I was in Kandahar Airfield in Kandahar province down in the south.
Well, Kandahar definitely has been in our sights. We've been watching that area very closely. So when I'm talking to you, I'm wondering what stands out to you, good, bad, indifferent. Were there any moments that you'll carry with you, humanity? Yeah,
I think there's probably a number of instances that really jump out at me, and again, back to the American military personnel that are deployed. They're just the most incredible people, and to see what they can do, I think some of the things that jump out at me is there was at Kandahar Airfield, there's a bazaar on the base on Saturdays, and Saturday morning before the bazaar, they have a school, so that the children of the men who work on the bazaar, they would bring their children in, and I got to volunteer a few times and go to the bazaar school and actually work with the children, and to see the multinationals there. You had Romanians there, the Aussies, the Brits, the Americans, and everybody would just kind of work together, and they would just volunteer their time just to work with these kids, and that was kind of neat to see.
That is neat to see. And real quick, we don't have a lot of time, but you were telling me a little bit in the Weather Center about the ramp ceremony, and that's something that I think as civilians we don't get to experience. Tell us a little bit about that quickly, if you can, sir.
A ramp ceremony or dignified transfer happened more frequently than I would like to ever see there at Kandahar Airfield. And what would happen is there's a large hospital at Kandahar, and there's also mortuary affairs at Kandahar Airfield. And what would happen is if somebody was killed in the line of duty there in Afghanistan, their remains were brought back through Kandahar, and they were then processed and sent back to Dover, which is in Delaware. And so a large ceremony, they would send out a message to us and say that there was a ramp ceremony would taking place, and it was just incredible to see the people, and I never knew anybody that had passed away, but I just felt like it was important to go, just to show my respect. And so many others did too. And you would see the Romanians would be there, and the French or the Aussies, the Brits, any of the American service members would show up, and we would line the ramp, and they would bring the remains by and play taps, and the chaplain would say a few words, and we would all render our salutes and just have that moment of silence and things like that. And it was just incredible to see, and I think that's the most important thing I just want people to take away from Veterans Day is there's just these amazing people out there who stood up and said, "Send me." And they're out there now.
We certainly appreciate that. And then lastly, is there anything we can do as civilians to help support you, our veterans?
I'm going to give a shameless plug for the USO. As a guy who used the USO while I was overseas, they have a great program where you can read to your children. They video it, DVD goes back with the book back to your children. I used that several times for my little 2-year-old while I was deployed. So the USO was just a fantastic organization, and I can't say enough great things about the work that they do for us while we're deployed.
Thank you for telling us that, and I know we often go up to our military in the airports and say thank you for your service. If you'd like to do more than say thank you, think about the USO. I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Mr. Hudson, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your service, and I appreciate you coming down this
Thank
morning.
you. It was my pleasure. I'm glad to talk a little bit about it.
Thank you. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.